Hey guys, Miker's here, back with another episode of Black Desert Academy. First, I want to give a quick thanks to all the awesome feedback on the first video. I was kind of really tired when I was making it, so I was worried about flipping up. But I'm glad you guys found it helpful. Moving forward, we're going to talk about the economics part. I did brush on it on the last video, so this is going to be a little bit more in depth on the how I see and how I handle the Black Desert market. Okay, so we did talk about market holes already. And I'm going to also add in untapped markets into this one, as well as various other things that I did not talk about in the previous video. Okay, so let's brush back over what market holes are. So market holes are items in markets that have a high demand but low supply of. They could either be instantly bought within 24 hours or be completely grayed out. So how to identify if there's a hole in the market? So the first thing you would identify is either before I check out gray items, actually, I check out the items that is currently being sold. And the way I check it, there's still a decent hole in it, is that all the items are selling within 24 hours, but that's not, I won't consider it a market hole, I just consider it marketable. But if it sells within 10 hours, then I would consider it somewhat of a hole, 10 to 8 hours. So let's give elixirs of time, for example. Maybe not after the race to a billion, it's a market hole anymore, but so elixirs of time, you can kind of see that every time I post it, or every time it's posted, it doesn't last more than maybe 5 or 6 hours before it's bought up, because there is not nearly enough supply for the demand. Now, elixir of time, if you guys don't know, is a life Exp Elixir. It's good for power leveling your trading, as well as other life skills that you are having trouble you're having trouble grinding on. It's really good for burst life skills like gathering or trading, or when you're about to gain a lot of EXP in that Pacific life skill in the Pacific burst. So moving forward, so the way I realized this is a market hole is by I checked the amount of accumulated trades. It was fairly decent, but also I checked how long the items lasted and when what are the products value that it costs to make it. So let's give me an example. You also when considering if something's worth making, consider something's worth making, always make sure you get all the ingredients down and see the price analysis. I'll cover this again later in the video, but make sure you do know how to make the product before you decide if it's a market hole. Some items aren't even profitable, hence they aren't sold often, so be careful and not invest in the wrong market. Alright, another way to spot market holes is when they're grayed out. Grayed out is the more obvious ones. These things will probably sell really quickly. So grayed out items are obviously completely sold out. The demand met the supply, and there is no one selling it enough or nearly often enough for the demand. So they're more legit market holes. So once again, you check the maximum accumulated trades, you check the last time it was registered, and then you also check, well, since it's grayed out, you cannot see how fast it sells, but you will also want to check the pricing and how it compares to the resources, as well as checking how fast it would sell by doing a trial run before you invest heavy in mass resources. So whenever you're about to invest in a new market that you haven't invested in before, please do a trial run. I recommend it. You sell a couple of it and just to see how fast it sells and fill it out before you go any deeper. Alright, so now let's talk about untapped markets. Okay, let's talk about untapped markets, guys. So untapped markets are markets that has a high supply of but not enough demand, or non-existence. But the good news about untapped markets is that the supplies to make something using an untapped market usually is significantly lower because no one knows its use. Therefore the prices of the even raw materials to make this untapped market is usually really cheap. So let me give you guys an example. Since elixirs of time was an untapped market, or pretty much a market hole, powders of time, if you look at the auction house, had a high stock and things posted that took forever to sell, mainly because no one really knew its use besides fishing costumes, and everyone knows how saturated that is. So Powder of Time had an overstocking. Powder of Flame too, as well as other things. Chicken, honestly, I will tell you, don't waste your time researching anything marketable with chicken, because I think I have done enough research to say that chicken isn't really an untapped market. It's just not worth me. It's not worth diving into. So, but chicken would look like an untapped market. How it has a high number of raw resources and not enough people using it for stuff. But yeah, untapped markets usually in the marketplace will have high amount of resources due to the lack of publicity of certain recipes or items. Now, if you can look at the market and look at these things that have really high registration count, and then see what they're used for, and then decide if it's worth making. Now, how would I do this? Okay, I'm gonna show you guys. So whenever I see a high resources that looks like I can easily buy and spam something, I first check out what's used in it. So let's give First Sap an example. Okay, use First Sap as an example. I'm not sponsored or anything, but I go to BDA database, and then I'll type in the search First Sap. Now, luckily, I chose this site because of how easy the UI sent for me for this specific task. So on BDA database, I'll click on the First Sap, and then it'll show me like what recipes it's used in and how to get it and so forth. So it'll show you everything that contains First Sap, or that requires First Sap, and these are the markets for First Sap. So this is all an example, guys, because I know First Sap is usually sold out. But let's hypothetically say First Sap was like 200,000 in stock. Okay, so if First Sap was 200,000 in stock, no one's using it, no one knows its use. You will look at the recipes and then see what is really profitable, and if it has at least two things that's really high in registration count, like two raw resources, then this is most likely going to be worth making, because high registration count means minimum prices, and long-term minimum prices lowers the overall price over time. So you want to check these things, and when you see these high registration counts, just do your own personal research. I want to inspire you guys to be a little bit more self-thinking. So do your own personal research and see what recipes is in using BDA database, and just like how I did in this video. This will also let you learn how to get an eye for the market and be more creative, because the empire I'm going to teach you guys how to make is going to be one that can change with the market without much struggle, because the market is always changing, so you'll always be making profit. You might make some tweaks to your business model here and there depending on events and other things, but if you guys follow the system pretty clearly, you guys should be okay. Okay, guys, I rambled on enough about untapped markets. Let's get down to the next stage, which is like, how do you disseminate what is worth selling, and how do you decide if it's worth making as well. Okay, so first you go over cost versus profit. Now, cost versus profit is pretty much simple. Cost versus profit. So the cost to make it versus profit. But then it goes a little bit deeper now. So you have to disseminate, how are you getting the resources? Are you making the resources to make the final product? Are you buying the resources to make the final product? Are you pre-ordering the resources to make the final product? These things you should play in your mind, so you really know how to as accurately decide if it's worth making. Now, if you craft something, don't go by the market value of the item, because unless you're going to sell that item, it's not really worth going by that value. Because if once you reach at least, I want to say professional 10, you have about a 2.5 proc rate from your recipes, meaning that whatever things you make and research you do to make something, from cooking or alchemy, you have about a 2.5 proc rate. So when you see the total value of the item, that doesn't mean like the cost of the items cost you that much to make. So let me give you an example now. Sinner's Blood, okay? So I have a 2.5 or more higher proc rate with my alchemy. I'm almost master now. And the Sinner's Blood is probably worth, hold on, I'm recording it separately, but let me just check for but I think Sinner's Blood is worth just about 15 to 16k right now. Yeah, so let's say Sinner's Blood worth 16k for easy math, okay? So the Sinner's Blood, you wouldn't place the value of Sinner's Blood at 16K when you use it in recipes, because if you made it yourself, you made it with a 2.5 proc rate. Okay, so and Sinner's Blood's market value in itself, which I was explaining in the comment before, isn't that high because the supply is completely outweighing the demand. So selling it will take quite a while in the marketplace right now. So to me, I see it as just a product to get to the next stage. Anyway, you want to divide things you make by 2.5, so you really disseminate the cost. Unless the resources that is used to make that product grossly outweighs the final product, which it rarely does, you should divide the final product's value by 2.5 to 2.6, and then you really decide like how much money did it cost to get this product, and then use that final dividend to calculate it into your profit and loss calculator. So what I'm trying to say is that let's just for easy math's sake, let's divide 16 by 2.5, so it's like 2.5. So I'm just doing it in my head right now. So now if you bought the Sinner's Blood, you will cost the calculator at 18K because obviously you bought it at 18K. So these are different things. If crafting versus buying, this is kind of how you calculate it. I don't want to get too numbery on you guys. I might make you guys lose your minds from watching this video, but that's just a rough way you calculate it pretty much. If you're making it yourself, don't calculate by the base value of it unless it's really valuable to sell at that form. If it's not valuable to sell directly into the marketplace at that form, then you're not really losing out on much. I forgot where I was going with this. Okay, so that's how you pretty much decide when you're doing products that is crafted into the cost calculator. Next, I want you guys to look at like items you bought. The items you bought, you kind of just put in the calculator's face value. You take the base price of the item and how many times it's used in the recipe to make the final product, and you add that into the cost. That's pretty simple. Okay, so I think I covered the cost and profit of it. So you pretty much also, actually, I forgot to add the profit. So you pretty much also have to do, once you finally do add all the costs of all the research you make via buying or crafting to make the final product, is the tax. Okay, so thanks to a comment, special shout out to him, that he actually gave me the exact numbers. I kind of knew it a little bit, but I was just tired of like giving exact figures. But thank you so much, I appreciate it. So it's gonna be about, if you have a value pack, the money you get is going to be about 15% off the principal that you posted it for. Meaning that if you post something for $100,000 with a value pack, you'll get $85,000 back. Now, if you have a value pack, the number you see where it says collect money is not the actual money you receive. It's actually more than that. That will be the money you would get if you actually had the full taxes taken out. If you do have full taxes taken out, it'll take about 35% out of the full principal. So please keep that in mind when you're talking about the profit margins. That's one of the beautiful things about Imperial Trade, but that's a conversation for another day. Okay, guys, so let's look at the resource abundance too when we're deciding to make something. Now, resource abundance usually are going to be combined with items that are cheaper to make, but resource abundance wouldn't really be a factor with really expensive items. Really expensive items have really scarce resources. I've never seen the opposite so far. So when you look at resource abundance, when you're deciding what to sell or make, you have to ask yourself, can I spam this, or how often can I spam this, or how often can I make this? Not all items can you spam 24/7. The way my system is set up, I have low base items, which is like a consistent income of cash flow. Like, for example, I sell Elixir of Seals with Imperial Trade as my consistent income, as well as fried fish, and this is just for Imperial Trade, but yeah, Elixirs of Seals as my consistent income, fried fish, and what else? I guess I would have to say, I guess I'd have to say grilled sausages and stuff like that. But that's pretty much it. And the other background incomes are just raw materials that sell directly into the marketplace, because I am not a trade crate person yet. So that's pretty much what my residual consistent income consists of, as well as my wagon shop. So moving on, you gotta decide what's the level of abundance of the item you're deciding to make. The item, like I said, doesn't have to be spendable 24/7, but you guys gonna have to establish a base cash flow that you can do daily, so that will support those like random bursts of other markets that you do like once a week or twice a week and stuff like that. For example, well, you guys, if you guys did watch Race to a Billion, you know what I'm talking about. It's like I didn't do hardeners every day; that would kill me. I didn't sell my wagons every day; those are the burst things. I didn't do relics and forbidden books every day. So think of it that way. Those are the bursts, but have consistent things that make pretty much nearly every day, because their abundance matches that level of demand for in the market. So I'm going to also teach you guys how to make a system out of what you decide to make. That is on a case-by-case basis, but that's, I think, is going to be the most interesting part of the academy. I'm going to teach you how to make an Exp Elixir little network, just similar methods to making a bear network, but I'm going to show you how to make all these little networks in smaller, short videos down the road. And obviously, you can go discover your own, but you can use the same methods I used to make those networks to make your own network to help you keep up with the amount of supplies you need without spending a huge amount of time in game getting them, which is make sure you keep that as a goal. Not much time spent in game, but maximum profit possible. Okay, so moving forward, I'm going to talk to you guys now about the Black Desert Academy stages of wealth. So stages of wealth, you're going to start off broke pretty much, okay? So from leveling from like 1 to 30 and doing Black Spirit quests, I want you guys to sell almost the shirt off your back. And if you get Blackstone, sell it. If you get anything like that, sell it, okay? Just to give yourself an initial investment. Just like in real life, the real money comes from investing. You don't make money unless you're willing to spend money. So you're going to need about at least $1 to $2 million to invest in, to get decent money. If you kill Nagas by the swamp south of Heidel, you should get decent amount of money, as well as they drop these things called Crucian Carp trade items, and you can draw them to make dried fish packages. So, and if your gear isn't up to par, they're not that super OP, but if you're just playing with a friend, you can easily party up and just farm them. The Blackstone dropper is really nice, and the trash trading is pretty good for a person who's just entering the game. But yeah, so this is the beginning stage of wealth, okay? You have your little money, so you're about to start investing. I'm going to tell you in the way you do your BDO economics at this academy, it's going to start with a stockpile. The stockpile will be your residual cushion in case you do have some times you need to overproduce to make a certain amount of money to buy a certain thing, okay? So the stockpile, for example, like I explained in the first video, like you'll stockpile your beer. So you'll stockpile other resources in the background. If you did follow my last video and you reach like the 200 point contribution point mark, and I say you're just about reaching the transition phases from farming and no longer needing a complete farm for beer because you have a huge stock of beer, then you should be pretty much on the same boat where I'm thinking, which is about 20,000 plus beers for this, at least 2,000 to 5,000 milks, which is a good start. If you started your egg farm around the stages I think you did, you probably have at least 1,000 plus eggs. You should have at least 3,000 or more weeds, and then you might have to start buying some a little bit depending on how heavy of an alchemist you want to become. But either way, these are things you want to stockpile before you move to the next stage of the BDO wealth model for the academy. So first stage will be stockpiling. You want to stockpile your resources, variety of resources, okay? Don't sell your milk, don't sell your eggs. I did mention in the last video, I'm gonna say it again. Don't trade in all your fish that you get from fishing. Trade in the blue ones and the gold ones, but not the green ones. What else? So don't sell a lot of resources unless it says this item can be vendored at a such and such price. Then the item, besides that and chicken, I'm sorry, I'm just throwing chicken on the bus this video. Besides that and chicken, everything else could have a possible purpose that you might be wasting it on. I'm just trying to save you from the mistakes I did. I still like cry at night at the milk I sold as a noob, as well as the eggs, not really thinking. But moving forward, so after you get past the stage of stockpiling, I want you guys to set up your base cash flow. So in this example, your base cash flow can be your fried fish that you use, the amount of fried fish packages you sell on a daily, most likely Elixir seals, Imperial trades, your logs, or whatever excess logs if you're not interested in becoming a crate user. The excess logs your works make on almost every daily or every 2 days, or a plain workshop you set up just to have a consistent level of income. It could be a costume shop, an offhand shop, a boat shop, a wagon shop. It could be any of those, but these would be like your consistent cash flow. That this is a constant stream of cash cycling on your account. I'm not saying this is gonna be all the money you're making, but this is what you want to get set up around this point. So when you're stage 2, you're setting up your cash flow. You can decide whether you're gonna be making most of your money from alchemy, or cooking, or fishing, or trading, and you have your base things that you do while you're on a daily that you cash in for money. Okay, I don't think it's that complicated. But if you have any questions on the cash flow stage, please, like I said, leave a comment, message me. I'm here to help you guys, and I don't want me just to be the teacher. I want you guys to be my teacher as well, because like I said in the introduction, Black Desert has a huge amount of information, and no matter what they say, no one's going to be a master on everything in Black Desert unless they're the person who made the fucking game. So the next stage I want to talk to you about is the the pre to early billionaire stage. And this is kind of how you start changing your business models when you have a large amount of money. So when you have a pre to early billionaire stage, I'm referring to people who have about $700 million in excess to $1.5 million in excess. Now, when I say excess, what I'm trying to say is that if you're like me, and if you're going through the similar thing and you might want to PvP or just have access to all PvE content, you're going to need a certain level of gear. So when I say excess, I mean anything over the amount you need to buy whatever item you have in your head. I don't know. I'm gonna leave that to be your personal choices. I'm not gonna tell you what items to buy or what gear to buy. But whatever money you have to buy that gear, if it pops up, leftovers is gonna be your excess. So let's say you want to, keep 300 mil for a boss gear piece or whatever, and then that's your excess. So anything after that 300 mil is your excess you can use to play around with. Think of it like that. Okay, so anyway, if you're in the early billionaire stage, you can use your excess in new ways. Besides your regular cash flow that you set up, this is when you start doing a pre-ordering schedule. Now, when you have this amount of money, I'm going to encourage you to start to invest more in things. So you invest more money in pre-ordering and set up a pre-ordering schedule. And what I mean by a pre-ordering schedule is that on like 1 day or 2 days, depends how long it takes you to complete your pre-order, that you set up like a schedule to pre-order certain products that you know is hard to get, even via workers, because you don't want to have to spend too much in-game time getting every ingredient for recipes or whatever. So you want to set up a pre-ordering network. Okay, some things I don't recommend pre-ordering is milk, because I don't know who Illuminati figure is doing the milk thing, but they are like paying insane prices. But you'll set a pre-ordering schedule. For example, like Tuesdays I'll do First Sap, Wednesdays I'll do Ash Sap, Thursdays I'll do Maple Sap or something like that. That's just an example, but you get the point. So you will start investing money or setting aside the budget for pre-ordering your items that's hard to get, so you can spend less time gathering. But at this stage, I do recommend you have at least a devoted gatherer in the day for doing nothing but gathering. And at this stage, if you have a steady cash flow, you can kind of have an idea of the items that you aren't getting fast enough passively, so you'll know what to devote your gathering day to. This will also be inclusive with your alts. And in another video, I'll explain about leveling up your gathering and stuff like that. But when I think focus fire gathering is the best thing to do, to all gather one item so you don't have to worry about it for a long time. And then the next week you gather something else and slowly overstock yourself in that way. Okay. Next thing I want to talk about is minor scale investments. Minor scale investments are just investments on things like jewelry, Yeah, pretty much just jewelry for me right now. There's probably other things like that, but I'm using jewelry as an example because what I do sometimes. So minor scale investments, I invest like sometimes anywhere from like $50 to $100 million in jewelry, knowing that it's going to fluctuate. So for a good example is red coral earrings. I invested about 50 to 100 million red coral earrings at the price of 2.6 to 2.8 million, and I waited until the market rose back up and sold my red coral earrings back at 6.5 to 8 million per red coral earring. So that's nice flipping money. And some people say that's a waste of money, but you got it, as long as you know how much tax is taking out. If you're making at least 1 to 2 mil profit from each sale, then it's better than letting your money sit there and do nothing. Let your money make money for you. Once you're in this close to billionaire or billionaire stage, and this is when you start letting your money make more money for you and start really maximizing out your passive income. If you and around this stage, I'm assuming you will be probably past the 1 month to 2 month mark, so you most likely have more than enough contributions. I am not an expert on trade crates yet, so that's a market I do want to talk about in the academy, or have someone after I do more research. Or have someone teach me, and I'll relay it to the community, because I want this to be actually a learning ground for everyone, not just some guy who's preaching or something, because I am nothing on that level. So I want people to be able to not to learn from my videos, but learn from the freaking comments that comes on this channel. Like, holy shit, this is like a mine of information. So please add some comments on information you know. I know some of you guys are doing that already, and I'm loving it. I think we are ready to move on to the next stage. Not the next stage. Well, yeah, actually the next stage. Okay. So this is when you're in the multi-billionaire stage. Okay, guys. Once you're in the multi-billionaire stage, you're gonna look at your cash flow consistency. So I want you guys to look at how much money you make on average. I know some days you might make 20 mils, other days you might make 120 mil, but kind of like find a good average on like your weekly schedule and your gameplay time. Not daily, because you know you have real life schedules with work, school, or love life and stuff like that, or you may not have any life at all. Then GG, bro. Because honestly, I envy those people right now. What was I gonna say? That little tangent. Anyway, so you're going to look at your cash flow consistency, how much money you pull in a week, okay? This allows you to know how much money you can invest without, going in the red. Going in the red means you losing money and not making money. So, once you understand your cash flow consistency, you know what money you can play with and what money you shouldn't. At the multi-billionaire stage, if you're like me, though, I have to be at the multi-billionaire stage to have any excess. It's going to be a struggle, because even after I made a bill, and made 2 bill, I still didn't have any money, because 1.5 bill went immediately to freaking pre-ordering a damn Tet katana. So if you jumping past the try stage and going straight for Tet boss gear, then you gotta be a multi-billionaire before you can do any comfortable investments. Oh, it sucks. But anyway, so once you know your consistent your cash flow consistency, you want to optimize your current cash flow network. Is the workers I'm using have the best skills? This is when you start looking at these things. The best skills for the node they're at. This is how you really push yourself to a certain threshold of income. This is when you really start tweaking it with your wrench and screwdriver. So you start re-rolling worker skills and stuff like that. Now, how do you re-roll worker skills, you might ask? So I'm going to show you guys. So here you'll look in the worker UI, and then you will see like a button on the far right. And this will allow you to open up a skill menu, which will allow you to change their skills. Now, this feature is only available to workers who are level 30 with at least, I'll say, about 50% of their EXP bar filled in. Because every time you re-roll a skill, which is completely RNG based, it costs 50% of the EXP. They do not D-level, but the ability will no longer be available once the EXP hits 0. So once it's EXP 0 at level 30, you have to let them work again to get their EXP up and try their chances again of getting a better skill. You want to have the best workers with the best skills for the right type of nodes. This is how you really maximize worker income. Okay? Another stage you can do with this is actually buying and selling workers. So you can level them up and sell them, which is what I used to do when I was in early stages of the game. It's probably more profitable now, though. But you can level up workers and sell them. I call it a slave trader, even though it sounds fucked up. But yeah. So you can do that and just sell them in the market. and not promote them and stuff like that. Either way, you're going to optimize your workers to get the best workers possible. They don't have to be full artisan, because a skilled worker with the proper skills can easily outproduce an artisan. The only thing that's guaranteed with an artisan is that they'll definitely be able to do more working tasks than people of lower ranking. But I think I talked enough about worker optimization. I think you guys get the point. Next thing I want to talk about is nest egg economics. Nest egg economics is a privilege of those who already have a lot of money. So nest egg economics is pretty much what I call, I think I'm coining this term because obviously I didn't research that term myself. I just chose this as a proper term. So nest egg economics is what I call when you have enough money that you don't always have to liquidate your resources into silver immediately, because if something comes up, you know you can buy it. So this is saved for the last stage, the multi-billionaire stage. Nest egg economics means that you can literally stockpile any resources without looking at market holes and literally sell until that hole appears, but you get to sell it for the max price, for the max amount of income, thus maximizing the value of your stock in your warehouse. That's nest egg economics. It's not really that complicated, so I'm going to save it pretty much just like that. You can say, like, okay, there's a 25,000 to 100,000 ore. I'm going to stockpile ore, though, and I'm not going to sell any of it or turn it into any crates or anything until the market crashes again and sell it back. A bigger thing for nest egg economics is blackstones, okay? Some people, you can go as far as buying blackstones when they hit a low point in the market, such as 140K is about a good point to buy blackstones, armor and weapons. So if you're really rich, I mean, if you're in the early billionaire to millionaire stage, don't bother investing. Let's save that for the rich people, because you're not gonna make that much money. But if you're really rich, you can invest 600 million blackstones when it's hitting a low point in the market, and then sell it like a month later when we're at a drought for 300K and make a huge turn in profit. The same thing could be said for hards and sharps, but from what I've seen, hards and sharps have not fluctuated nearly as much as it used to before the server merge. So don't quote me on this. Do your own, research, and keep an eye on our market, and then you start to see when things are hitting low, and start to see patterns as well. So that's something I'm gonna leave you guys as homework to do. I'm not gonna tell you when to buy or what to buy this. I want you guys to start using these videos and actually learn to think for yourselves, in the sense that you get an eye, because unless you develop the eye and not have a mentality of just copying what I'm doing, you won't be as successful as I want you guys to be. And guys, I want us all to make it, bros. I want us all to make it. So let's try to focus on the market and not exactly on the product that I do. And the product that I do, I'm gonna go over in almost every video anyway, just to give you guys an idea of how to set up a system. I just want you guys to approach this with the right mindset. Okay, so we talked about the stages now. Alright, so let's talk about the big elephant in the room that a lot of people been kind of asking me about, is how do you get all these supplies in a certain sense? And I know when they say the supplies, I know they're not talking about the easy ones. I know they're not talking about fucking iron ore or something. They're talking about what I like to call bottlenecks. How do you get all these supplies? Do you get all the bottlenecks by gathering it yourself? Hell no, guys. As a lot of you guys are getting to know me, you guys know, especially from the Billionaire series, you guys know I have a job. I work about 45 hours a week. I have a personal life. I have a channel that I update to you guys, so I don't really get to play the game at all as of recently. So, yeah, I don't gather it yourself. But you guys do know, if you guys watch my videos, that I do have a day devoted to gathering. I'm talking about that, at least it's one of my days off. I devote to nothing but gathering, and I have multiple characters with skilled 5 and above gathering, so they can use the max tools, which took time to get. But my point is that to get these bottlenecks, I wasn't spending all my time gathering. It was a mixture of everything to keep up. Now, actually, I should explain what bottlenecks are to those who are confused. Now, a bottleneck is just like its name, okay? So you have a bottle. Towards the base of the bottle, you have the most abundant resources and recipes. And as you get closer to the neck of the bottle, you have a couple of things that'll funnel the amount you can pour into the economy. So, like, let's give me an example. Alright, utensils. If I want to mass produce utensils, what do you think the bottlenecks are for that? If you think about it, it takes whatever iron shards, usually iron shards. It takes black spirit powders, which isn't really a bottleneck either, but it takes two things that can be considered bottlenecks: logs and rough stones. Because it has two major bottlenecks in it, that's why it's always going to be almost always going to be grayed out in the marketplace. Things with too many bottlenecks in its recipe tends to be grayed out in the marketplace because it's hard to mass produce. So you can mass produce it if it was only like things like melted iron shards and black spirit powders, but because it's two bottlenecks, you cannot mass produce it. So the reason why rough stones are bottlenecks is because you cannot get it passively. And I mean, yeah, you can't really get rough stones passively, and because you can't get it passively, there's no one with huge stockpiles of it unless they invest actual in-game time. So that's why you want to let other people invest that in-game time, and you just be the opportunist to get the rough stones when it's being put up for sale. And only on your gathering day would you devote to actually getting rough stones yourself. Okay, so that's one example. Another example: there's a list of of bottlenecks for recipes that it's gonna go on, and you're gonna start seeing a pattern. I'm telling you that there's always one or two items that's extremely hard, not extremely, but very hard to get in large quantity that stops you from mass producing and becoming a billionaire. But you're gonna have to fight your bottlenecks tooth and nail to the point that they're no longer even into consideration. Like, it took me a while to build up 16,000 eggs, so I don't even have to think about it as a bottleneck anymore. But milk is still kicking my ass right now. Point taken though. Your bottlenecks is what controls whether or not you can become a billionaire or not. How much of these bottlenecks can you have? So let me give you another example. If you want to become an alchemist, unlike cooking, it's full of bottlenecks because it's full of things that isn't really sold that often on the market and usually requires you to spend in-game time to get. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys are curious, like, how do I get all these bloods and saps? Well, I had a stockpiling phase, like I mentioned in the earlier parts of this video. You have to respect the stockpiling phase, okay? Because your stockpiling phase would just be like your cushion, because unless you're a robot who use the exact same amount of stuff every day, it's your cushion for when you sometimes overcraft or you want to craft a little bit heavily one day. But it'll keep your recipes in enough rotation that you don't overuse one specific ingredient. So anyway, you want to stockpile on multiple things so you can rotate the recipes enough so you don't overuse anything. Okay, how am I going to explain this? So the thing about bottlenecks is that you want to have at least 3 to 4 ways of getting them. Not all bottlenecks will have these options, but I'm gonna use Trace of Savagery as an example. Okay, so what are the ways? Most people know the ways of getting Trace of Savagery when it comes to basic knowledge, which is Lynch Farm Ruins node. You get that very passively, even with an artisan worker, and it's still not that fast. And the other way is the marketplace. Okay, now the thing about it though, with certain bottlenecks, there's a third way, which is actually, there's a third way or a fourth way, and which is actually gathering or killing. So a lot of people don't know is that the people ask me how I use a lot of Traces of Savagery. Is that because I grind these creatures in Medea called mains. They're slightly north of Tariff, and they're like wolf-like warriors. Okay, these wolf-like warriors drop Traces of Savagery, and if you don't like fighting them, or if your gear is a little bit weaker, unlike other places, Traces of Savagery actually has a second area that it drops and can be farmed massively, which is called Sonos. I'm talking about the Sonos I forgot the name of the area, but I'm talking about the Sonos that are around level 45 to 49, I believe. I'm recording the audio first, so I'm sorry, but I usually add text to the vague parts I say because I'm going off the top of my head when I record the audio. So Sonos is another place you farm Traces of Savagery. So if you're someone who wants to grind silver, and you can make about 3 million an hour grinding mains, but that's not, as an alchemist, you're making more than that if you consider the Traces of Savagery you get, especially if you know the rotations to get elites. And this will also give you forbidden books, which you've seen in the race to a billionaire over time. So I'm getting Traces of Savagery as an alchemist, I'm getting the furs for gold trade-ins, and I'm getting forbidden books for my bi-weekly forbidden book and relic shard party. So you kind of see how my system's working. It's coming together the more information I give you. these are things you're going to have to do to fight bottlenecks. You have to diversify your routes to getting this bottleneck. So same thing with saps. Okay, we all know you can gather saps, but you got to add it into a pre-order schedule as well, and you also have to make sure you have nodes that passively bring you in saps as well. So these three things should be enough to let you slowly stockpile saps. Make sure you keep your pre-orders on point. Adjust the prices as needed. If you don't get any pre-order wins within 24 hours, you might need to adjust your price, friend. I can't really give you pre-order prices because obviously everyone's going to just use it and it's going to fluctuate. So I'm gonna have to let you guys fill it out. But a rule of thumb is at least raise the actual price by at least 30% of the base price for pre-ordering, just to get yourself started. Okay, so we talked about bottlenecks. Now let's talk about multi-level income and multi-level marketing. So multi-level marketing is kind of like when you're pretty much knowledgeable on either Pacific corner of the Black Desert market, and you can deal with its ups and downs. So I'm gonna give you an example. Okay, let's talk about plywood hardeners. Okay, so recently plywood hardeners was overstocked, and with the massive overstocking of plywood hardeners, we had the price drop slowly, but it was on a steady decline. The reason why I sold plywood hardeners instead of using them for noble wagons is because plywood hardeners were worth about $55,000 to $50,000 per plywood per hardener, and the processing recipe to make sturdy plywoods was not worth the hardeners and the plywood consumption. So what I was going to do, which someone else beat me to it, was let the plywood hardeners price decrease enough for it to be profitable to go to the next stage. So plywood hardeners dropped all the way down to 41K, but it didn't reach the point that I wanted to. By my calculations, I felt like 37 to 38K for a hardener would be the golden number for me to buy out the entire hardener place that has that price value. So what is multi-level marketing? So if you know a market and if you feel like one item is oversaturated, then you want to jump one step above or one step below that. So that means if an item is oversaturated in the market, that means there's a high demand for the ingredients to make it because people are currently spamming it for whatever reason. So, or vice versa, which is like if that item is high priced, then the final product isn't worth making. So you got to make sure that you don't make the final product because the item that makes it is really high priced right now. So you should probably sell the second stage instead of the final product a lot of the times. So you want to be able to approach and attack different levels of an oven market because certain things will be oversaturated. So let me give you guys another example. Exp Elixirs. Let's say Exp Elixir is oversaturated. The major ingredient of the Exp Elixir is dry main grass. So if everyone started jumping on an Exp Elixir bandwagon in the alchemy community, then your next best thing to do is stop selling those Exp Elixirs. Keep the ones you already made in your warehouse and start selling the dry main grass that you get off your farms directly, because there will be enough people to fill that demand because they're making the Exp Elixirs for you. So instead, you save yourself at least a lot of time, and all you gotta do is post a couple of things in the marketplace and get your ass back to fishing if you want to keep AFK. So you don't have to craft the elixirs anymore. You can just go post the grass and sell it. Even though you might make it not as much profit, but you're still making. But the thing about it is that the price of the dry main grass will go up because there's so many Exp elixirs being made. So the value should kind of be at close to max when you sell it rather quickly. This is kind of the eye you have to look at. You have to look at the stages of an item or of a product when you see something being oversaturated or overmade or bought really quickly. You gotta have an eye for this, and you gotta know what stages is the most profitable to sell it at what time. So should I sell the raw material? Should I sell the medium, or I call it tier 2, the second tier materials, or should I sell the final product? These are the multi-levels you're gonna do. Raw, tier 2, final product. If there's 3 tiers into making something, those are very few things, but that's kind of how you want to disseminate whether or not you're going to sell the noble wagon or the sturdy plywood and hardeners or just the raw materials and make it in general. I think I covered almost everything I want to cover, but I am still feeling a little bit insecure on the amount of information I gave you guys today. So please ask away in the comments as you guys are getting to know me, you guys know I answer as many as I can when I'm at work. But anyway, I do hope you guys did learn something from this video. If you do, don't forget to leave a like. I appreciate it. Keeps me motivated because these videos are really long, and I work fairly decently hard on these videos, so I really appreciate the feedback, and the feedback has been great so far. I'm loving it, and I hope to see you guys the next time. The next video will probably be covering the general outline of alchemy and cooking, or well, so I probably divide alchemy and cooking separately because it's so much information. But I hope you guys can learn from this video, new players and even some seasoned players alike. And I hope to see you guys the next time. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button for updates until I have a scheduled upload. And towards the end of the week, I realize it's probably going to be the most likely time for me to upload, which is like Fridays and Saturdays. So, or maybe even Thursdays to have an actual bigger upload. I might have small videos throughout the week sometimes, but my major upload schedule is probably be towards the end of the week. So anyway, subscribe, hit the bell button. Much love, guys. I hope to see you in the next video. It's been Mikers. Peace.